Welcome gamers to this week's vlog. So we've only 52 days left in the year now. The Ultimate Trophy Hunters Challenge is getting extremely tense as there's still a lot of games that I need to play and a hell of a lot of trophies I still need to earn to be able to complete the challenge. So with that in mind, this week I've been trying to concentrate on getting as many games cleared as I can, with 1 platinum that was required for the special date challenge for Guy Fawkes, and also for the 100% no platinum games I had 3 remaining which I wanted to try and clean up completely, just so I know 1 challenge is completely done. But I also been looking at the remaining games that I've been planning to play to see if I can tweak any of it and make some maybe some better efficiencies. I'm currently set by completing all the games in my list to have 102 platinums, and I only need to get 100 platinums, but I also need to get a total of 50 backlog games. So I've got a little bit of room to maybe try and combine some challenges by swapping out games where I only finish on 100 platinums, which would be the shortest amount of games I need to complete. So with that in mind, I'm going to go through my plans a little bit later in the vlog. But before then, let's just catch up with what I have been playing this week and what trophies I have been earning. My only platinum this week was for Infamous First Light on the PS4, so as to fulfill my Guy Fawkes special date challenge in the Ultimate Trophy Hunters Challenge. Released in 2014, this action-adventure game by Sucker Punch is the 5th instalment of the franchise and serves as a prequel to the 4th instalment, Infamous Second Son, which was also on the PS4, with the original Infamous game being on the PS3, along with its sequel Infamous 2 and the independent expansion to that game, Festival of Blood. In Infamous First Light, you play as protagonist Abigail Walker, known in the game as Fetch, and is set in a third-person perspective. Fetch is referred to as a conduit, which means she is able to channel neon gas, which gives her superhuman powers that she can use in combat as well as to quickly traverse around. The story is set in a fictional version of Seattle, where after being captured by the Department of Unified Protection, or DUP for short, Fetch is ordered to tell the story of the events leading up to her capture 7 years earlier, and these previous events provide for the main gameplay element as you relive these events through your gameplay. Alongside the main story, you will also unlock combat arenas which are set in the present, whereby you're put up against increasing waves of holographic enemies to demonstrate to the DUP the extent of your powers, where you are then given scores based on your performance. The battle arenas also serve as the game's way of earning skill points that you can use to unlock new abilities and enhance all your abilities as you learn and discover more ways to channel your superpowers. This is done by the skill points being awarded for completing 60 different challenges in the game. I believe the game was originally intended to only be DLC for Infamous Second Son, but instead was given its own mainline release. The story is pretty short and does not take very long to fully complete, and it's also pretty easy. The game's difficulty really comes from its battle arenas and in-game challenges. However, these are only challenging at first if attempting them before performing any of your upgrades. But once you start to unlock and increase all your abilities, then even these are pretty simple to achieve. With this in mind, the Platinum is only about a 3 out of 10 in difficulty, and you can expect to be able to get 100% in around 15 to 20 hours. The trophy list itself is pretty simple, with a small amount of collectibles obtained from the outset as you roam around the city, with other trophies all being associated to completing the story and the challenges, with nothing being missable, making for a very enjoyable Platinum Trophy experience. Surprisingly, although owning all the games in the Infamous franchise, this is actually the first one I've actually gotten around to playing, and I really enjoyed my time with it. The controls are very smooth, making traversal and combat a really enjoyable experience. If I had any sort of gripe, then it's going to simply be that the story could be a bit longer, as just as you really start to enjoy it, then it's over. I would not like to have paid full price for such a short game, but as I picked the game up very cheaply in the sales some time ago, then for me, I feel it was a good value for money, even if it is short, so I don't really feel shortchanged. As part of my Ultimate Trophy Hunters Challenge, I'm also required to complete 10 games to 100% that do not have a platinum trophy. And so this week, with 7 games already completed this year, I decided to focus on and tackle the remaining 3 games. First up, we have Namco Museum Archives Volume 1, which is one of the very few non-platinum games that I actually had on my current backlog. This is a collection of 11 games that were developed by Bandai Namco Entertainment and includes arcade classics Splatterhouse, Mappy, Dig Dug, Galaxian, Pac-Man, The Tower of Druaga, Dragon Buster, Dragon Spirit, Xevious, Sky Kid, and a bonus game, Pac-Man Championship Edition. My personal favourites from the collection are Pac-Man, which is an absolute classic legend of a game, Galaxian, Dig Dug, and Mappy, which Mappy also happens to be my wife's all-time favourite video game, and one that she's probably actually far better at playing than I am. So let me know in the comments if you would like to perhaps see me go head to head with my wife in a high score challenge on Mappy sometime in a future video. The trophy list for this Namco collection is pretty simple in that there is only one trophy associated to each game, and for the most part you just need to earn a specific high score or reach a specific high level. If like me you enjoy your retro gaming, then this is definitely a great collection to pick up, and I also own Volume 2, which I'm looking forward to playing at some point. The second 100% no platinum game I completed this week was for Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 on the PS5. This is a survival horror game that evolves around playing as an unnamed ex-employee of a toy manufacturing company called Playtime, who returns to the now abandoned toy factory after the company's staff all mysteriously disappeared a decade previously. The player goes back to the toy factory after receiving a letter along with a VHS tape containing a tampered version of the company's original vintage Poppy commercial. The letter claims that the employees are still here, which prompts the playable character to return to the factory to try and find them. It's a pretty basic plot and really just serves as a way to explain why the player would look to return. But once inside, the gameplay evolves around solving some pretty simple puzzles in order to progress by utilising a pair of extendable toy hands that you can use to interact with out-of-reach items or channel electricity from one point to another in order to power things on. As you progress, you soon discover that everything is not quite what it seems, and soon realise that you've been lured there with the intention of you being added to the missing persons list. The gameplay is very smooth and the puzzles are not very difficult to solve, so progress can be easily made, but the game really steps up a gear when you're suddenly chased by the monstrous Huggy Wuggy toy with murderous intent. Although the game is very short, it's extremely enjoyable and does really well at setting up a tense atmosphere in a very short space of time. Chapters 2 to 4 in the series each have their own trophy lists and are also now available, so I'm excited to give those a go at some point. And Chapter 5 is scheduled to be released sometime in 2026, so I'm going to be sure to be picking that one up as well. The third 100% no platinum game I completed this week was Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons on the PS3. Having played the PS5 remake of this game back in May this year, which I earned the platinum for, the game made such a good impression on me that I decided to play through it again now, as the PS3 version does not come with the platinum, so it was an ideal candidate to finish up the challenge for completing 10 100% games that do not have a platinum trophy. This third-person adventure game sees you playing as two brothers who go on an adventure to try and find the cure for their father who has fallen ill, with only one known remedy that can only be found in one location. After having previously lost their mother who drowned at sea, the brothers will do anything to help their father, and so immediately set off on their journey. The unique gameplay mechanic is that you control both brothers at the same time using the left thumbstick and trigger button to control the older brother and the right thumbstick and trigger button to control the younger brother. This takes a little getting used to at first, but makes for some really engaging gameplay once you get used to it, as both brothers help each other out along their journey and both have different attributes, with the older brother being stronger and thus able to pull heavy levers, and the younger brother being smaller and able to squeeze through smaller spaces. Using a combination of both brothers' skills, you then help each other to negotiate past the many dangers that they encounter along the way. The game has a very simple trophy list that is comprised of doing specific things when you reach certain parts of the game, but none of these are story specific, so it's actually possible to complete the whole story without unlocking any trophies at all. Having said that, all the trophies are easy to get, and the full story can be played through in around 3.5 to 4 hours, so it's not a very long game. Reading the guide in advance so as to know what to look out for and when to get those trophies will not spoil your experience of the story at all. But with the game also being very quick to complete, a blind experience to just see what trophies you get along the way is also a great option. And you can then just play through a second time to do a trophy cleanup, which will not take very long. I absolutely love this game, and it definitely ranks as one of my most enjoyable games I've played this year. Hence why I was more than happy to go back to the older PS3 version to complete my 100% no platinum challenge. When it comes to trophy hunting, the only disappointment for me is that you can actually earn all the trophies and still have around 30 to 40 minutes of the story remaining. So a quick word of caution though for any trophy hunters out there looking to play this game just for the trophies. I really urge you to just continue playing the game all the way through to the end of the story, even after you've earned every trophy in the game, as if you stop at that point you will be missing out on the best parts of the game, as the final half an hour is the best part of the game, providing you with some of the great plot twists and also a real big emotional journey that really should not be missed just for the sake of an extra half an hour's gameplay. Let's now take a look at my PSN Profiles trophy log and do a recap of all the trophies that I have earned this week. So last weekend I didn't really get a lot of time to play at all, and it was on the Sunday evening getting quite late where I think I need to get a trophy to keep my daily streak alive. So I jumped onto Vampire Survivors and got one trophy at 20 to midnight, so I was cutting it very close. But then on the Monday, I needed to start working on the infamous First Light to get that prepped for Wednesday, where I needed to get the special dates all platinum prepared. So I worked through that on Monday and Tuesday, got that all prepared. Then on Wednesday, I managed to pop the platinum on that game. Then I moved on to Dead Nation Apocalypse, where I'm playing through at the moment in grim difficulty with Vidbacker to do the co-op campaign, because you've got to have a full co-op playthrough. Plus you also need to complete Grim to be able to unlock Morbid. So we're going through that together, and we're on the final chapter, which is chapter 10, but we didn't get time to really sort of get that completed this week, so hopefully get that done for next week. But while I was waiting, I essentially went through and got the Survivor sort of endless round 10 trophy, which is the hardest trophy in the game. Managed to get that done, and also the 150 kill combo bonus, which is another one of the difficult trophies. So probably the two hardest trophies in the game are now in the bag, and once I've completed that Grim co-op playthrough, I'll then do two more playthroughs, one on the very easy Brain Dead to get all of the collectibles all finished, and then a solo Morbid, which is the hardest difficulty, but in solo it's a bit more manageable. So that will hopefully mean I can get the platinum ready for next week. Then I moved on to Namco Museum Archives Volume 1, got the remaining trophies on that to get the 100% and another backlog game cleaned up. Then I moved on to Poppy Playtime and got all the trophies on that for that 100% game. And then Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons on the PS3, which of course is a PS3 game for the 100% no platinum. Then on the following day, I got Ghostrunner DLC I need to mop up on both PS5 and PS4. So yesterday I was going through playing the Ghostrunner DLC on the PS5, and I've got all but one trophy done. That final trophy is to do the first level, which is actually a pretty long level, but you've got to do it flawlessly without dying. So I've still got to tackle that and try and do that. I got everything else done out of the way, and then I was going to go back for that last trophy, but haven't had time before doing this vlog. So hopefully we'll have that done for next week, and I'll be moving straight on to the PS4 stack. stack because I've got both stacks in my backlog. So that's 2 backlog cleanup games that I need to get done for the Ultimate Trophy Hunters Challenge. So as we can see, that takes me up to 327 platinums and my trophy completion percentage of 85.22. But let's have a bit more detail now on where I'm at with the Ultimate Trophy Hunters Challenge. So going into a bit more detail on the Ultimate Trophy Hunters Challenge, and please remember, if you want to go into even more detail and look at it in your own time, there's a link to this spreadsheet in the description, so feel free to go and have a view. But looking at the trophy statistics, so 78 platinums so far out of the 100 that I need, 490 gold out of the 500, 669 out of the 750 silver, and 1,346 out of the 1,500 bronze that are needed. So I'm fairly confident I can get all of those done, other than maybe the platinums, which it just depends on how much time I've got. But the others I should be okay. I've completed the Ultra Rares Platinum with 8 already, and I only needed 5. The Ultra Rare trophy count, 73 so far, and I am going to possibly fall a little bit short with my planned game, so I'm going to have to try and find maybe a swap out for a game that's got more Ultra Rares, or just target a game to just get some Ultra Rares right at the end of the challenge, just to make sure I hit that 100. But I might need to get a little bit of a buffer above that, because some of the ones that you earn, if they're close to that 5% and they tick over the 5% and become very rare rather than ultra rare, then your number drops down. I don't want that to happen on the final couple of days of the challenge, so I'm going to be making sure I've got a little bit of a buffer on that as well, just in case. As mentioned, the completion percentage is now 85, and that's basically sort of coming up to nearly 8% that I've done, and I've got to get 10%. So I'm hoping that once I've got my backlog games done, that will then be over the 10% increase that I need. And then also the trophy streak is currently sitting at 312 days. So again, not many days left now in the challenge for me to completely get that done. So looking at the backlog games that I've got a few in here that I still need to do. I have actually got Alien Isolation all prepped. That was 1 trophy on it at the beginning of the year, so I only had 1%, but I've now got that ready to pop the platinum, which is highlighted in yellow because that's the one that I'm going to be having as my 350th milestone. So the work has been done on that. I've just got 1 easy trophy to finish off and just holding off on popping that platinum. But as you can see, I'm looking at Ghost Runner and essentially doing that this week if I can, to get those 2 out of the way. And some of these backlog games I could possibly switch out, but the other games in my backlog that I haven't put down in here are probably harder and longer, so it doesn't make much sense to swap them out. There are a couple of maybe easier options or like for like options, so I haven't set these in stone. These are just the ones that I fancied playing that were probably more suitable to try and get done. Coming down, you can see there's 2 special dates left now. I'm looking to do Jurassic the Hunted for Thanksgiving and Santa's Christmas Adventure for Christmas Day, and essentially they're both not started, so I need to start those and get them prepped, and I'll probably be starting on those soon just to get them done and out of the way early and just have the platinums to pop on the day. Coming over, you can see I've now got all my game series completed. I've also got all of the 100% non-platinum games completed, and my difficulty challenge, the 1 to 10, I've just got my 9 out of 10, which I'm planning to do the Evil Within. The game length is the one that's going to be possibly the biggest problem. I still got to get anything from 20 hours up to 70 hours. I've sort of earmarked Castlevania Lords of Shadow, GTA San Andreas, The Evil Within, Aliens Dark Descent and Neo. And there's all sort of like quite long games, but some of them are quite difficult as well. So time is going to be of essence on these, and I might look to try and swap some out. So maybe if some of them are a little bit more difficult and I can find a game that's maybe a bit easier to make sure I don't go over the sort of game length that is needed, I might swap them out. But some of these are also completing other challenges as well, so I have to make sure that I'm not increasing the total amount of platinums and then having to do more games. So for example, GTA San Andreas is completing about 3 or 4 different challenges, so I can't just swap it out for the game length without it then not having the other challenges being completed. So I've got to be careful about any switch outs that I do. When it comes to the console Grand Slam, again, I've got quite a few that I still need to get done. I just looking down to what ones are the most efficient to try and do. Then coming up, you can see on the alphabet. So for my trophy name, I've got the J, K, R, Y, and Z outstanding. And for the game name, I've got the G, K, N, Q, and the number outstanding, all of which I've got games penciled in. But again, I could swap any of these ones out if there's something that is more appropriate to the time scale that I've got. But again, any of those that I do look to swap out, if they're doing 2 challenges, then that means the other challenge doesn't get completed and I've got to add in another game. So just swapping it out might not save time. It could add it on if I've then got to add in more games to do it. The genres, I've only got 2 left, the non-fiction, and I've got marked down here the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, but that's actually now not marked as a non-fiction. So again, I've having to swap that one out for something else, which I believe is 1979 Revolution Black Friday. So I need to update this spreadsheet because the GTA San Andreas doesn't now count for that particular genre. And also Zombie Tycoon 2 is my real-time strategy, and again, if I can swap that out for something that might be a bit shorter, I will, but it's a genre that tends to be, most games being very, very long. So this is one of the ones that was possibly one of the quicker ones anyway, but it's still quite a challenging game to actually complete. So we'll see how I get on with that. It comes down to the oldest game in my backlog and the co-op only game. Those are the 2 left for my sort of special challenges. So again, I've got to try and make sure I sort of find time to get those ones done. Looking at my game plan, just to show you how that's looking. So everything coloured in green on the left hand side there are ones that I've already completed and got the platinum for. You can see I've highlighted Alien Isolation in yellow. That means that I've essentially got it all prepped. I'm not doing any work on it until I'm ready to pop the platinum. And then underneath you can see all the games that I have currently planned and penciled in. So these games at the top here are the ones that have platinums, and the ones that have got the backlog percentage in green, that means it's already in my backlog. It's below the percentage that I can currently use it for. So I'm looking to essentially get that all up to 100% before the end of the year, and these will give me a platinum as well. But then if you come across to the right hand side, you can see where they're also sort of filling in other challenges, like the sort of the alphabet letters or the Grand Slam or the special challenge as well, or the game lengths. The ones that aren't part of the backlog, so looking down here, these are the games that are essentially the ones that will be fresh starts. Now I've highlighted Lego Marvel Superheroes because this is a Y, and the reason I highlighted that is essentially I got Neo, and Neo is also a Y for the plat name, but I've earmarked that as my game name. But it may be that I could swap out a game that is a little bit easier to complete, or maybe shorter to complete, that will satisfy the end game name, and then essentially that means I can replace Lego Marvel Superheroes and instead use Neo as my Y. So again, I've got to try and do some working out as to what's the most efficient way to go through, because it's very difficult to swap things out without affecting other challenges, because most of this has been sort of cut down to the bare minimum that I can really get away with doing. Going through all of these, I've marked off these slightly darker ones on my backlog. These are games that only satisfy the backlog challenge. They don't satisfy any other challenges. So they're potential ones that I could just swap out with another game in my backlog if I think that backlog game is going to be sort of maybe better to complete than these. But these are the games that I really wanted to complete more than anything else. So they're most likely going to stay. Then if you come down, the 100% games are all now done, but at the bottom here you've got my DLC only games. So these are the games that I've only got the DLC to complete to get 100%, which will complete a backlog game, thus making up the numbers to get to 50 backlog games. And with things like Borderlands, I've got the Moxie DLC to complete in its entirety. Now, although that's literally only just a few trophies and it's one mode, it's a very long, grindy sort of like trophy sort of business. So if anyone has played Borderlands 1 and they've played the Moxie DLC, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not a particularly interesting mode. It's very grindy. You've got all these large arenas you've got to do, and they take hours to do each. And essentially, it's not particularly enjoyable, but it's also not particularly easy to do. And they can potentially glitch out as well. I did them on the PS3, and I got to the final wave, and one of the actual enemies glitched into the floor and I couldn't kill it, thus I couldn't complete the wave, and I had to replay that whole arena, which took another 3 hours. So there's always a potential for that to cause a problem, but if I can get it done, it is one that I'd like to clean up and just get it all finished, and this is the PS4 version of it. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, we've got the DLC for the Spec Ops mission, but it's a co-op, you need 4 players. So again, I'm reliant on having to get other people to help me do that. So we've got 4 of us that can do it, but we've got to get our schedules in line. Then Ghost Runner is the ones I'm currently working on, trying to get the DLCs cleared on that. Marvel Spider-Man, I've got everything except the full playthrough on New Game Plus in ultimate difficulty. So I've got to play the whole game on the hardest difficulty just to get those last 2 trophies to clean it up to 100%. So although it doesn't seem like it's a lot, a full playthrough on the hardest difficulty is no mean feat when you're only going to get a couple of trophies out of it. I've got Outer Wilds to do the DLC for, which is one that I'm actually quite excited to do because it's one of my favourite games. And The Evil Within on PS4, I'm planning to do The Evil Within on PS3 to get the Platinum, but I've already got the Platinum on PS4, but I haven't done any of the DLCs, and that's another one where I need to try and clean that up to 100%. So looking at this, if you see the totals, so for Platinums, you can see if I do all of the games that I've mentioned above, I will have 102 Platinums at the end of the year, and I need 100. The backlog games, everyone that I've marked, will give me the 50 that I need. The ultra rare Platinums, again, I'm sitting at, I only need 5, I'm sitting at 8, but I'll end up with 13. The ultra rare, you can see as it currently sits with how they're currently sitting there, I've got essentially 73, and I'll only end up with 96 out of 100, so I'll have to find 4 more. And I'm going to leave that to last because I've got some games like the Call of Duty games with zombie modes that have a lot of ultra rare trophies, which although I won't be completing the whole thing to 100% in my backlog, I can go in and get some odd ultra rare trophies, hopefully fairly quickly. So that will be my backup for trying to get the numbers up on that particular challenge. You can see then that the gold, silver and bronze I will be well over once I've completed everything. So as long as I can get them all done, I'm not worried about those. And then at the bottom you can see confirms 52 days left, which is essentially just under 8 weeks, sort of 7.5 to 8 weeks. And I've got 30 games left in my plan to reach 100% on and clear up completely. That includes like the 23 Platinums that I need, as well as the backlog games completions. And that equates to about 3.5 to 4 games per week that I need to be completing. So although this week I managed to do it, they were all sort of fairly shorter games, and I need to really sort of try and double down on my time now and get more efficient with my time, because 3 to 4 games a week with the games I've got left, especially some of these longer, more difficult ones, is going to be a real mean feat. So I'm going to have to play it smart and try and do the best I can and really make my time really efficient at earning these. Below that you can see other backlog maybes. These are games that I've got on my backlog that for one reason or another I can complete if I want, but I could use these to swap out games that are above. But generally speaking, they're ones that I prefer not to try and do in the challenge, just because they're ones that would rather just concentrate on outside of the pressure of a challenge. Some of them might be longer. So for example, the Godzilla game on the PS4, I know it's not a particularly difficult game, but it's a very, very grindy game. And although I could, potentially sort of grind through that, it's already sitting at 20%, and I've still got the bulk load to sort of grind through, but I can't use it for one of my game lengths because it's over the 5%. So it won't be able to satisfy any other challenges. And that's the same with all of these backlog maybes. these won't really satisfy any of the other challenges. They will only satisfy the backlog challenge. So that means if I swap them out, I've got limited sort of opportunities to swap out where it will also complete other challenges as well without adding even more games. So that's the reason that these are sitting here. I've got other games on my backlog, like a lot of the Call of Duty games, but those are ones where I'm going to be looking next year to go back. I did a lot of the PS3 ones and got all the PS3 DLCs and all the zombie modes all done this year. And we're going to start on the PS4, but I wanted to wait until next year out of the challenge before I concentrate on those. And then other games are just ones that I just would rather do outside of the challenge, so I don't have the time pressure. So those are possibles to be swapped out, but in all likeliness, I'm probably going to stick with the ones I've got rather than try and dip into these, especially as I can't use any, well, very few of these can be used for my game lengths anyway. So that's it for my Ultimate Trophy Hunters Challenge update. It's getting very tense. As you can see, there's a lot of games I still need to play and a hell of a lot of trophies I need to earn to complete the challenge. And with 52 days left, I really am running out of time and it's getting very tense. So I need to really become very efficient with my gaming time to earn as much as possible. And that's going to mean I'm going to have to try and even grab a few minutes here and there using my PS Portal and just basically try and get every minute of spare time that I've got that I can essentially try and, you know, get this challenge finished. And with that in mind, it's probably going to be for the next few weeks until the end of the challenge. I'm going to try and keep these vlogs a little bit shorter by not going into details with my sort of weekly question and answers. I still have quite a few community questions that I'm going to be answering, but the ones that I've got left, which are the ones I've been putting off because I want to do them justice. I want to really do quite long answers to a lot of them. And with the amount of time and edits and B-roll and things that I want to include to really do those questions justice, I'm just not going to be able to spend that length of time answering those and get enough game time in to complete this challenge. So don't worry, all those questions will be answered and they'll all be coming sometime in the new year. So keep it locked to the channel for all of that and keep it locked for hopefully seeing me get through this challenge. So that's it for another week's vlog and I really hope you enjoyed it. As always though, I want to take this opportunity to say a very big thank you to all these gaming legends that you can currently see on screen who are my Patreon supporters. And if you're interested in getting involved a bit more and joining the Discord community, then please see the link down below in the description for my Patreon. But I do want to say a big thank you to everybody out there that subscribes to the channel, that leaves a thumbs up and a like, and that basically makes comments. I love reading all of your comments and I reply to every single one and I really enjoy engaging with the whole audience. So please continue to let me know what games you're playing, what platinums you've been earning, make recommendations for the channel, things you would like to see, but just keep that engagement going. I really enjoy it. With all that being said, until next week, enjoy your games, take care and look after yourselves.